Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Hope you are all well. I am just going to invite Sarah to join us. And we'll get cracking. There we go. On her way in. Just going to let her in. There we go. Hello.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. It's so lovely to see you.
I know. It's been a while.
How's your leg?
Yeah, we shall not talk about the leg. The leg shall go unmentioned. But it's getting there.
Good.
Anyway, thank you everyone for joining. I just wanted to say hello and also to introduce Sarah. Many of you know Sarah already as the founder for Ticking Off Breast Cancer, the amazing online support hub and book, obviously. And so the support hub forms a huge part of the Future Dreams charity, online content that they provide women with breast cancer. So all the way from diagnosis through to creating a new normal after breast cancer. And Sarah also provides an amazing amount of experience and knowledge to lots of different charities and organisations. So I'll make sure she introduces herself properly. But today what we really wanted to talk about, as we have done through kind of lots of different lives recently, is how people navigate life after cancer. It's one that I still can't get right 5 years on, and one that I'm sure you still ask questions about as well, Sarah. So I'll leave it to you to introduce yourself, and then we can go backwards a little bit and find out a little bit more about how you got into doing what you're doing now.
Okay, thank you. Hello. It's funny because I was sitting here thinking, oh, I was just waiting, setting up the phone and everything, and thinking, gosh, I'm hot. I was like, jumper off. I'm having a hot flush. I was like, oh my goodness, my trousers are so uncomfortable because I put these jeans on and they're like really, really tight because I've put on loads of weight recently because of menopause and tamoxifen. And then I'm like, I've cut my finger today and I have lymphedema in this arm and hand.
Oh no.
It's mild lymphedema, and I have, I've managed it. And I was like, oh my goodness. Every time I do something to this arm or hand, I really panic because I don't want my lymphedema to flare up. So, loads of antiseptic and everything. So, just talking about life after cancer, I'm 7 years or so since diagnosis, and yet it's still with you every day and in many different ways. And you might not necessarily think, oh yeah, that's about, that relates back to cancer, but it's these little niggles and these little things. Anyway, I've completely diverged off that.
I mean, it's totally. You asked me how my knee was. It's just little things like that. People having to help me again. I can't accept help, but it just brings me straight back to that cancer land of having to accept help. And it's simple little things like that, and it just spurs you on.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I digressed.
And I digressed, and I can't even remember what your question was. Did you want me to introduce myself?
About you. Introduce yourself.
Sorry. So yes. So hi, I'm Sarah, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2016. It was occult breast cancer, which is a rare form of breast cancer. I've only ever come across 2 other people, I think, in all the time that I have been working in the breast cancer community who have had that type of breast cancer. Basically, it means that you don't present with a primary tumour. So I had cancer cells in my lymph nodes. That's how they knew I had breast cancer. So I had surgery to remove my lymph nodes, chemotherapy and radiotherapy, Herceptin, and I've been on tamoxifen for a while now as well. So that was 2017. Herceptin finished in 2018, and then after treatment finished, I was thinking, oh, I need to do something, I had some time off work to get through the treatment, and I just sort of felt the need to give something back, do something. And so that's how I set up Ticking Off Breast Cancer, which was the website, the precursor to the Future Dreams Support Hub. And what I found really lacking when I was going through treatment were those practical tips, those things like, you know, what to take to surgery. Obviously there are things available, lists available, but it's all those little extra things like the extra long phone charger lead, or straws for your cup so that you don't have to sit up. So I just wanted to put something together that would really help anyone going through treatment. So that's how that started. And then at the time, I really found it very cathartic, very therapeutic to write about what I was going through. That was my way of processing. That's how I processed what I was going through, and the whole acceptance of having had a cancer diagnosis and so on. And that led then to my first book, which was Ticking Off Breast Cancer. And that was kind of like a heads up of what to expect if you're diagnosed with breast cancer and you're going for chemo. You know, we all know a little bit about chemotherapy because we watch the telly or a film. Actually, in reality, what is it really like? And
not like
society, we do not talk about cancer. We don't talk about cancer treatment as a society. And so when you're diagnosed, especially at a young age, in, you know, 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s, whatever, and you have no experience of someone close to you going through cancer, you just do not have a clue what to expect. So I really felt that there was a need for a kind of a heads up for women going through breast cancer. So that's where my first book came from. And then a few years ago, Future Dreams approached me to join them. So I migrated my website over to their website. So now, like you said at the start, I run the support hub, the online support hub for Future Dreams, which is effectively just peer-to-peer support from myself, got 2 volunteers working with me, Emma and Molly, and it's all just, you know, who's who, a list of different people you might come across when you're first diagnosed, questions to ask your oncologist before you start your treatment, what to take to chemotherapy, that sort of thing. So I've been doing that for a couple of years, and then last week, was it last week? Oh my goodness, it was a week ago today.
It was last week.
It was, yes.
27.
The second book was published, which is called After Breast Cancer, a Recovery Handbook. And at this precise moment, I should have a copy and hold it up to you.
But I know, I felt like I should as well.
Downstairs. So if anyone doesn't know what the cover looks like, please look on my Instagram account.
Very beautiful, colourful.
Yes, it's really lovely. The picture is really, really lovely. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's me.
It's amazing, and well done for doing the second book, because I think once you get past that initial shock of the diagnosis and what life is like and different how life is like afterwards, you kind of need time to process it. So actually it probably takes 7 years to write that second bit down.
I know. Exactly. Everyone is different, you know. You have some people, I look at it as a spectrum, and I put this in the book, that you have, on the one hand, you have people who finish their treatment and they're like, oh, you know, I finished treatment, it was a bit awful, I'm not feeling great, but right, back to it, back to work, back to being a mum or dad, or whatever it is you do, and you kind of just pick up the pieces and just plow on through. And you don't really give a lot of thought to what you've been through, what you're going through now. Then at the other end of the scale, you have those people who are like, oh my God, that was such a wake-up call. I need to completely change my life. I don't like my job. I want to change my career, or, you know, I'm not happy in my marriage. I'm going to leave my spouse, or I'm just going to pack up everything and go and travel the world, and life's too short. And, you know, it's like a complete turnaround of where you are in life. And you have these two extremes. And I think actually everyone is somewhere in between those two. You know, there's very few people at either end of this spectrum, but most people are somewhere in between. And so we're all so different with how we react to what we've been through and how we deal with it and how we then move forwards
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
And so it's, for me, it's been 7 years since diagnosis, and then obviously the first couple of years were taken up with the treatment. And I look at myself now and I think I'm a very different person to the person that I was before cancer in many ways. In lots of ways I'm very, very similar and the same, but there are some ways that I'm different. And I think I'm even different now to the person that I was immediately after treatment. So I think, you know, nothing is static, and we're constantly evolving, and we're constantly changing. Nothing's permanent, and we just have to do our best and just kind of keep moving.
And we do, you know, you do slip back into a lot of normal things that you said you would never do again, but life takes over.
You have
to,
because
exactly.
You, at the end of the day, you've got to go to work to pay the bills. You know, you've got to walk the dog, you've got to make food, you've got to go to the supermarket. You know, you can't just say, oh, that's it, you know, I'm going to live my best life now and I'm going to go and do all these wonderful things. But actually, all those wonderful things actually cost a lot of money. And in reality, we have to go to work and, you know, take the kids to school and make dinner for the family and empty the dishwasher and replenish the loo roll. You know, in reality, that's what we have to do. And I think it's about that period after treatment can be a bit, you know, it's up and down, isn't it? But it's getting yourself over a period of time to somewhere that you're really, you're comfortable with. And you might have these feelings of, actually, I really didn't like my job and I really want to change it. And that's great, do it. You know, you've had a horrible experience and it's really opened your eyes to, you know, life is short. Absolutely, why not? But we all have to remember that actually in reality we have to live realistically, don't we?
No, I totally agree. So thinking about everyday life, what things have you proactively changed? Not drastically, but, you know, things that you might have introduced as a result of your diagnosis that you now feel are particularly important.
So I changed my diet. I didn't eat too badly before I was diagnosed with cancer, but I felt I could do more. And I think for a lot of people, we change our diets because we can control our diets. We can control the fact that we were diagnosed with cancer. We had no control over the cancer growing in us, no control over the treatment plan, no control over whether the treatment was successful or not. So there's this huge chunk of time where you completely lost control. And so after that treatment finishes, it's like, oh my goodness, I need to take back control where I can. I can control what I put into my body. So I'm going to change my diet. And so I did change my diet. And, you know, it's a much healthier diet. You know, loads and loads of vegetables, trying to get as many different vegetables, all the rainbow, in my diet every week. Lots of good fatty foods like salmon and mackerel and chicken, avocado. So just, that was a change. I've certainly reduced my alcohol intake. I didn't drink any alcohol for the first 5 years, and then we went into lockdown, and I didn't drink for a variety of reasons, but when we were in lockdown, everyone was stressed. It was a completely different world, and I did start to drink alcohol again, but I really don't drink very much at all, so that's a very big change as well. And I do so much more exercise now.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, Sarah.
You knew I was going to say that. And actually, it's very interesting because before I had cancer, I had, I have a desk-based job, and I did work 4 days a week, and I had 2 very young kids, and so I didn't do any exercise other than running around after the kids. And actually I did start, before I was diagnosed with cancer, I'd had a back problem, and so I had to start seeing a rehab physio, and I was doing a bit of swimming. So just before I was diagnosed, in fact, this is a funny story. So I probably started seeing my personal trainer maybe like 6 months before I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I hadn't done any exercise for so many years, and it was really, really helping my back pain. And the week before I found out that I had breast cancer, I actually said to him, I actually feel the best I have ever felt.
Oh, no.
And then the week
Wasn't
after, yeah. So it's ironic, but I do a lot more exercise now. I've reduced my working days to 2 days a week. Obviously, I then, on top of that, do the charity work, which is a little bit more flexible. And my kids are so much older now; they're teenagers, so they're self-sufficient in many ways. So I do have a little bit more time for myself.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found I was doing during my treatment was walking. I honestly was floored by chemo, radiotherapy, everything just floored me. I felt dreadful. And everyone, nurses, my husband, was saying, like, do a little bit of exercise, go for a walk, go for a walk. And even that was the last thing I felt like doing, because all I wanted to do was just lie on the sofa under a duvet. I get myself up and I go out for a little walk, not necessarily a long walk, depending on how I felt. And I continued that through the treatment, and then after treatment I carried on, and I was really enjoying the walking, and because I'd had the back problem beforehand, it was helping with the back as well. And then I thought, oh gosh, I feel like a bit of a wally going on these long walks on my own, and oh, maybe we should get a dog. And so we got a dog. And so now I'm out every day walking the dog, and I love it. I love my dog walks. I really genuinely love getting out into nature, the fresh air, walking the dog for an hour. It's just brilliant.
It is the foundation of any exercise program. I think, and it just for your mental health as well, being outside, especially at this time of year where it's a bit nicer. It just makes such a difference to how you feel. And as you said, during treatment, it's literally the last thing you want to do. And I didn't know about that then. I do now, but I just wanted to lie in bed. It floored me as well. But I noticed as I was starting to get towards the end of my treatment that actually if I got up in the morning, I'd got myself outside, or I'd, attempted the nursery run, I had so much more effort and energy during the day than if I'd just gone, oh, I can't be bothered to get up today. But I think kids did help with that routine of getting up in the morning and getting out of bed and moving yourself downstairs. That definitely was a helpful.
And even now, post treatment, I'm on tamoxifen. It doesn't make me feel great. I do sometimes get fatigued and tired, and you think, oh gosh, I've got to go to the gym, because I go to the gym twice a week as well. And I think, gosh, that's like really the last thing get up in the morning having had a terrible night's sleep, because I'm awake in the middle of the night, hot flushes and terrible anxiety. So I wake up in the morning feeling terrible. I haven't had a good sleep. The last thing I feel like doing is going to the gym, but I force myself to go, and I always feel so much better afterwards, always, without a doubt. And
never regret the workout.
And I'm still so surprised by this. Well, why didn't I know this before? But my top tip for someone either going through treatment or after treatment is do more exercise. I genuinely, I don't enjoy going to the gym. I hate to say that to you, Sarah, but I enjoy how it makes me
the gym. I like doing it outside, or doing something that involves, that is part of a group, or there's people there, or I've got something else to look at rather than just a wall. I do find sometimes a gym can be quite a dull place. And actually someone telling me what to do is quite helpful too. Even as a PT, I prefer being told what to do.
Someone there telling me what to do. But the reason I go to the gym as well as the walking is because of the bone strength as
Yeah.
well. So for me, I'm worried about my bone strength, you know, deteriorating.
Yeah.
And so I go to the gym to do that resistance training,
Yeah.
and then a little bit of cardio as well.
Yeah.
Because that's so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
For especially someone who is on hormone therapy, having had breast cancer, it's, you know, building up your bone strength.
Yeah.
You know, what would you say is the right amount of exercise to do
Well,
after the treatment?
basically, anyone who's been through a cancer diagnosis, be it during treatment or after treatment, has the same recommendations as anyone who hasn't been through cancer treatment. So the World Health Organization kind of puts out guidelines, and it's somewhere between 150 and 300 minutes a week of some kind of moderate cardiovascular exercise. So that's something that makes your heart rate go up, like walking, cycling, something fairly gentle where you can talk but you're a bit breathy. Anything more vigorous than that, you don't have to do as many minutes. So if you're doing more vigorous exercise, you're cycling up a hill or you're running a bit faster, you could do something like 75 to 100 minutes. And that does work out about 30 minutes a day. So it's not huge. And actually, if you're walking up and down stairs doing washing, or you're walking and doing the school run or doing the dog walk, you've kind of ticked your box already. It's the strength training, as you're saying, is the one that you need to fit in and proactively find time for, because it doesn't fit so well into the routine. And you can do, you know, you don't have to go to a gym to do a strength workout. You can get some very simple pieces of equipment to do at home. All of my equipment that I work with people one-to-one is all mobile, so you can tie it to trees, or it's free weights and things like that. So you can still do that strength-based exercise with equipment that you can use at home, and still get pretty strong doing it as well. But as you say, for that bone density, particularly in women who aren't able to kind of, you know, make sure that their hormones levels are high enough for that estrogen to keep their bones strong, then it's really, really important to keep that up. So that's twice a week. And I reckon you start around a 20-minute workout. It doesn't have to be a long one, and you can fit it into your day. I think Liz O'Riordan, for example, she does some great examples of when you're making a cup of tea, do some squats, you know, when you're walking up the stairs, really thinking about pushing through your heels, so it's almost like a lunge. There's some quite simple ways that you can incorporate it into your day.
Oh,
So
that's really helpful.
yes.
And I think just the other thing I find about walking, just to mention, is you know, it's quite nice to listen to a podcast or walk with a friend and catch up. But I do mindfulness sessions with Laura Ashurst, and one of the things that she has taught me is to go for a mindful walk. And you until you try it, you might not realize quite how beneficial and how impactful it is. But it really is. And you're walking along, and you say to yourself, okay, what 5 things can I see? And you're not judging, you're just saying, I can see a tree, I can see a plane in the sky, I can see, and you're just looking for things that you might not necessarily pick out usually. And then, you know, what 4 things can I hear? So as you're walking along, you can hear like a bird, or a car in the distance, or a horse, or whatever it is. And then 3 things I can feel, and it's, you know, you feel of the ground beneath your foot, and the clothes on, you know, or the coat rubbing your neck, or something like that. And then it's 2 things I can smell.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
And you don't have to do it. So one thing I can taste, like I can taste my toothpaste or whatever. But there's no rush doing it. And actually, it really is a way of bringing you back into the moment. So for somebody who is feeling really anxious and worried about an upcoming scan, for example, or, you know, any everyday worries, or, you know, a niggling something or other that you're a little bit worried about, whatever the worry is, going on a walk and doing this mindfulness practice as you're walking can really make a difference. It has done for me, and I think, you know, as well as the sort of the strength and the physical benefits from exercise, there are so many mental health benefits as well.
Yeah. Oh, totally. No, I love that mindful walking.
It's
Yeah.
really, really effective.
Yeah, definitely. And so thinking about exercise a little bit more, but also your body. So lots of people ask this, and actually lots of people don't think about this, I think, after cancer is coming, particularly when you're moving more, you're using your body in a different way. So how long do you feel like it took you to accept your body after cancer? Or have you
So,
accepted your body after cancer?
so I have to admit, I was lucky in that I didn't have to have a mastectomy, because the occult breast cancer meant that I just had to have lymph nodes removed. So in terms of sort of body shape, I was pretty much the same after cancer as I was before. But I think for me, it was not trusting my body, because it had grown this cancerous tumour somewhere, and the tumour had spread, and so I had this lack of trust in my body, and that really took me quite a while to process and to deal with, and I can't tell you how long it took, but now I'm in a place where I'm actually really happy with my body, and I trust my body, and I think, oh my goodness, what this body has been through, and yet it's still carrying me around and allowing me to walk for an hour a day, you know, across fields or whatever, and up and down stairs and at the gym and whatever. So, you know, now I'm more in awe of what the human body can do, and I try and remember that and think, you know, when I'm eating, I want to eat it with really nutritious food. I want to look after it, because, you know, we're not getting any younger, but equally I want to make sure that I minimize the risk of any damage to the body, whatever that might be, whether it's another cancer episode or something else. So I think for me it was mostly about that trust in my body, because I certainly didn't trust it for a long time afterwards.
Did you have any symptoms of your cancer initially? How was it diagnosed?
So, and this also really scared me afterwards. So I had a history of breast cysts, which are perfectly normal, and they are in absolutely no way a precursor to breast cancer. It's all very hormonal, and they come and go with the monthly cycle. And so I had been to a breast clinic to have them checked out, and I'd been a couple of times over maybe 3 years or so, and so I wasn't I'd experienced finding a lump in my breast, and then that subsequently had turned out to be a cyst. So I'd been there before. And then what I'd found when I was on holiday was I'd found a really hard lump in my armpit, and I didn't really think too much of it at the time. I was 42, so relatively young for cancer. And I thought, oh, I was on holiday, oh, you know, it's probably just a cyst or something, it's probably nothing. And then we got home from holiday and it was still there, and I could only feel it when I held my arm in a certain position. I can't remember now, but it was, if I checked it like that, I don't think I could feel it, but if I checked it with my arm out, I think I could feel it. I can't remember. And then I thought, actually, no, something just was at the back of my mind telling me to go and get it checked out. And so I went to the breast clinic and had a mammogram. Nothing, you know. I said, oh, I've got this lump in my armpit. And they said, okay, well, while you're here, we'll just check everything out. Mammogram was completely clear, nothing in there. Ultrasound of both breasts, nothing in there. And then they did an ultrasound of my armpit, and the radiographer who was doing that was not happy with it and said, I'm going to do a biopsy of that, just get it checked out. So took the sample, and that obviously that came back showing breast cancer cells. And I was like, where, you know, where's the tumour? Because the mammogram and the ultrasound were completely clear. And so I then had to have an MRI. Nothing showed up on the MRI, and a PET scan. It's just a cold breast cancer. It's just a very rare form of cancer that you don't know where the originating tumour is. So
but interesting that you knew that you had to follow it up. I think, you know, I always think our bodies are very clever, and even though we feel we've lost trust in them, at the same time we knew something wasn't right, and so we kept persisting to make sure that whatever it was found. Because that, what I've always found with, I find it quite difficult to trust my body after cancer, but then at the same time I have to remind myself that it has given me those warning signs a few times where I've had to go and get myself checked and make sure everything's okay. But yeah, it's trust, I suppose, maybe is not the right word. Maybe it's accepting a post-cancer body. It's quite a difficult situation when you've had surgery and lots of different, you know, you've lost your hair, for example, you know, recreating yourself after cancer. And I suppose that's kind of what your new book is a bit more about, is how to move forward after cancer.
Yeah, both physically and mentally. So, you know, there's a lot in there about trusting your body afterwards. You know, it's a relationship, you and your body, and it's getting that trust back, so that you can move forward with trust in your body again. It's about body confidence, you know, having confidence in the way you look now, but also confidence in the fact that your body, like exactly as you just said, is going to raise a red flag if there's something wrong. You know, more often than not it does. Obviously there are times when it doesn't, but you know, if we are attuned to our bodies, we can sense when something isn't quite right, and we can go in and get it checked out. 9 times out of 10, you know, or 99 times out of 100, it's going to be nothing sinister, nothing terrible. But it's just knowing that you have the confidence to do that, to go and speak to somebody. And also the book talks about a lot about all those mental and emotional challenges after cancer treatment has ended. So the anxiety, the post-traumatic flashbacks, loneliness, feelings of loneliness, feelings of guilt. There is such a array of things that people feel afterwards: sadness, problems with the relationship, you know, being a parent as well, you know, the guilt of being, you know, of putting your child through it. And what I found interesting was that no matter how old you are, if you have children who are like a baby or a grown-up child, you will always feel guilt about putting your child through it. So it covers a whole range of challenges and difficulties that someone might face when finishing treatment for cancer.
Amazing. So in terms of the lessons that you feel that you've learned, so we talked about starting to do things that you can control to help move forward. Are there any other life lessons that you have heard from other women, or as well, you know, that you think are really important that to kind of communicate to other people?
There's so many things to that you learn, and again, everyone is very different, and so the lessons that we learn when we go through a traumatic life experience are different. And I think a lot of it comes down to, you know, what our values are and what we feel is really important in life. And so, for example, for me, a really, really big lesson that I learned was to slow down. So
Yeah.
I was really busy before. I was working 4 days a week. I had 2 young children. I was trying to do everything, trying to be successful at my career, but also trying to be a really hands-on, present mum, and also trying to socialize and trying to create a beautiful home,
Yeah.
and go and organize birthday parties for the kids and dinner parties for us, and it was just one big race. And what I realized was so important was that life isn't actually a race, and it's not a competition, and it's about slowing down and being present in the moment.
Yeah.
And that for me is something I come back to every single day, is
Yeah.
to be present in the moment and to slow down and try and have a calmer life. Obviously we can't change external and things like we have to go to work, we have to
Washing,
we have to empty the dishwasher, we have to everything.
Yeah.
But it's just about, I don't know, just making a little bit more time for yourself and putting yourself higher up on
Yeah.
the priority list. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
It's actually, you're not at the bottom of the list. We put everyone else above ourselves quite often.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't look after other people if we're not 100% ourselves. And so it certainly was a wake-up call to have a cancer diagnosis in many ways.
Yeah.
And one of them was, Sarah, you cannot look after your family if you're ill. So do what you can to prevent yourself from getting ill, of which a lot of it is about exercise, eating healthy, etc. But also just putting yourself a little bit higher up on the priorities, a little bit more self-care. Not talking bubble baths and by candlelight, which are obviously all gorgeous and lovely, but things like taking some time to go for that mindful walk, which can just really sort your head out for the rest of the day. And doing something like that then helps you sleep better at night.
Yeah.
And if you sleep better at night, that's got so many benefits.
Yeah. No, I think that is key.
Someone's just said, put your own oxygen mask on first before anyone else. Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that probably is like the leading piece of advice, I would say. I think that is essential, and it's difficult because you feel selfish, especially as a mum, but actually as you say, you can't look after anyone else if you're not looking after yourself. So it's making that time for the gym, for the walk, for the bubble bath, if that's what you want.
Exactly. And I think it is, there is a lot out there to read and watch and listen to in terms of this self-care that we all should be doing. And I read something really interesting recently, which was about how as you go through your day, you have your priority list in your head, and whatever comes across lands on your plate, you look at it and you think, actually, how does that sit with my values and my priorities? So for example, I'm now to the top of the list, which to someone I think who perhaps hasn't experienced a life-changing traumatic life experience might think is selfish. And as we've just been saying, it's so important that you push yourself to do that. And then you think, is this invitation to participate in a course, for example, as a presenter, is that going to help me? Actually, yes, it might do, but then I might be tired or whatever. You go through it, and then you think, what's next on my priority list? My children. Actually, how would they be impacted if I was away for a couple of nights doing this course? Maybe I shouldn't go because actually it might not be good for the kids. And then the next one down, husband, parents, how's it going to impact? And you have this kind of priority list in your head, so that when things out of the ordinary land in your lap, you can deal with them by relating the impact of that to everyone in your priority list.
Yeah.
It's just a way of taking the time to, rather than just say yes straight away or no straight away, to actually work out what does the impact of this have on me and my family and my job,
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And there's what I found in researching for the book, and also before, which is part of the reason I wrote the book, is there are so many resources out there that help you with things like this. And it's just about doing some research and finding them. So I put a lot into the book. Each chapter deals with a different challenge or difficulty. And within each chapter, there are some personal stories from women who have been through breast cancer. So they're sharing their experiences. But there's also insight and advice from an expert for each chapter. So they'll have an oncologist, a clinical psychologist, a family therapist, confidence coach, ongoing counsellor, and so on. And between them, we have got so many tips, tools, strategies that people can try.
Yeah.
So things like fear of recurrence, which I know is a huge issue for so many of us. It's not about how you get rid of that fear, but it's about how you live alongside the fear. And it can feel immediately after treatment so all-consuming and overwhelming that there is absolutely no way you will ever be able to walk alongside this fear. But Jane, who was the clinical psychologist who helped me with this particular chapter, gave some amazing insight and advice about things that you could do to help yourself to live with this fear. So, you know, the first thing is to accept that you will always have this fear, either, you know, to whatever extent it is. I mean, I can certainly say that now, the fear I have now is much less than the fear I had immediately. And I think that it's natural to kind of tail off a little bit. But it's just having those tools and those strategies to guide you in how you can move forward with this fear, for example. So you know, there is a lot of help and resources out there, and I would like to think that this book is a starting point, I suppose, for somebody. You know, there are lots of things that someone can try, lots of tips. There's a lot about, you know, I would say probably in every chapter one of the tips is exercise, because it does really help so many different aspects. But then someone can perhaps feel, oh, you know, I'm going to try this writing exercise, for example, that the book suggests to help with a particular aspect of anxiety. And then that person might actually feel, you know what, I really think that writing has really helped me. I'm really kind of processing that really well. It's very cathartic. I'm going to do a little bit more writing. And then there's, you know, you do some research. There's writing groups you can join. There are books you can buy that give you the writing prompts, you know. So it's about giving people a space to try some things and find something that works for them, and then perhaps go and
explore further. Oh, amazing, Sarah. And where you on Amazon?
Yes.
Amazing.
It's on available online from all the bookshops. Amazon. Well,
brilliant. Oh, Sarah, brilliant. I'm going to get myself a copy right after now, so I can read it. And I mean, I suppose it applies to pretty much all cancers, really. I mean, I would imagine there's some specific advice around breast cancer, but generally dealing with life after cancer, all of those tips can apply to all different types of cancer.
I would say so. I mean, obviously, there is a slight slant towards breast cancer because I talk about hormone therapy that someone having had breast cancer would possibly be on. Not everyone is. And also there is the mastectomy, lumpectomy issue. But, you know, so many cancers are involve surgery of some sort. So there are loads and loads of tips in there for anyone who's had any, I would say anyone who's had any cancer. And actually, Sarah, it'd be really interesting to hear from you, because you didn't have breast cancer, and so it would be interesting to get your feedback on how applicable it is to someone.
I would love to read it. I'm just coming, next week is my five-year anniversary, cancerversary, so it's all getting a bit hot around the collar with those dates.
For some reason, I think we all put a lot of pressure on 5 years. It seems to be, you know, a big milestone.
Well, it's discharge year for me, so they kind of release you into your life and say, go forth and live, and you're like, oh. So
get the book then. Read the book. That will be your little buddy.
Thank you. Someone has asked whether, is it available on audiobook?
No, it's not, but it's actually interesting that someone has said that, because I've had a lot of people ask me about that, so I'll talk to the publisher and see if they would be interested in getting it recorded for an audiobook. If there's enough interest for that, then that's might be something that they would do.
Brilliant. I've got lots of people ordering already, Sarah, so
thank you very much. I would also say, if you do read it and you feel anyone feels able to do an Amazon review, that would be really, really helpful.
Always on the books.
Because it's algorithms and such that when a book has a review, it kind of keeps it fresh. So
and the audiobook would be good for the dog walk.
Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna tell them.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Exactly.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Sarah, and thank you everyone for all of your questions and for listening in. I'll post the recording afterwards so you can watch it again if you missed any of the beginning. And if you've got any questions after, then please do just post them on underneath, and we'll try and answer as many as we can.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure, Sarah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And yes, shall get myself a copy and start reading. I will do.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, everyone, and have a brilliant evening.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.